What does it look like to create inevitable outcomes? I think so often as leaders, we want certainty for what we're willing to invest in. What am I going to have? What am I going to see? What am I going to feel? What is the ROI on that? So often, the reason that we don't focus on building habits, the reason we don't focus on spending more time on ourselves is because we don't feel like we have the certainty of what we're going to get out of it. But when we lean into what faith actually is faith is taking the action without having certainty.
This is The Own It Show, where we tell stories of how everyday people made ownership theirs.
Hey guys, welcome back to The Own It Show. I'm your host, Justin Roethlingshoefer. And if it's your first time here, I'm so glad that you chose The Own It Show as a place that you're really going to just spend time and listen. Because at the end of the day, we tell stories of people who have made ownership theirs and really stepped into a new level in their life. It's business leaders. It's leaders of the church. It's people who are leading individuals as well as themselves to get to a new level and a new place in their life. And I feel like as I've continued to lean into this, a lot of what I'm sharing here, especially in these one-on-one conversations, when I say one-on-one, me to you, is it's me speaking from experience. It's me taking my education. It's me speaking everything that I've gone through and having a different testimony to show you what's possible, show you what's new. And so if it's your first time here, this is what you're going to experience. You're going to have both one-on-one sessions just like this, as well as me bringing on great guests to be able to have that pour into you. And if there's anything that you hear today, all I ask is that you leave a review, you share this podcast with someone that you love, or you go and put a comment and tag us in it so that we can ultimately engage with you, because I want to make sure that we continue to pour in and help you at the end of the day. And so today we're diving into really what does it look like to create inevitable outcomes? I think so often as leaders, we want certainty for what we're willing to invest in. I come back to building our business, and I think one of the questions I constantly ask consultants or people that are wanting to come in and speak into our business is, what's our outcome going to be? What are we going to get out of this? If I pay you $20,000, what is my outcome at the end of the day? What am I going to have? What am I going to see? What am I going to feel? What is the ROI on that? And usually they give me an answer. Whether that outcome actually happens or not, sometimes is up in the air, but I'm looking for certainty. I'm looking for them to say, Justin, if you give me $20,000 at the end of the day, you're going to have this, 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 and this. And predictably, we're going to see a 10x return on your investment. Or we're going to see a 5x return with a little bit more clarity. But that's certainty. That's a deliverable. It's something we're leaning into. And I think so often the reason that we don't focus on building habits, the reason we don't focus on how we're living, the reason we don't focus on spending more time on ourselves is because we don't feel like we have the certainty of what we're going to get out of it at the end of the day. You know that if you pour in another 3-4 hours every single day on your business, that you're going to get a little bit of business growth. You know that if you spend another 3-4 hours on your relationship, that you're going to see a deeper, more intimate relationship. You know that if you spend a little 3-4 more hours on your home, fixing it up, it's going to start to look better. There's a certainty at the end. But when we lean into what faith actually is faith is taking the action without having certainty. And what I want to try to do is I want to combine faith with experience, faith with education, so that you can see how you will build certainty into your health, into your habits, into longevity, into self-leadership, so that you can step into a place that you have yet to go. And I can speak on this because of the testimony in which I have. And I'm going to start with that. I'm going to start with what it is that it looked like for me, my journey to building the life I have today, why my day looks the way that it does, how I've structured it. But it didn't just get this way out of a lot of wins along the way. It got this way out of a lot of losses, a lot of struggle, a lot of difficulty. And there's really 3 points that became really difficult for me. The first was as I was growing up. I had a terrible, terrible time with body image issues. I was a fat kid that was made fun of. I was an anorexic kid that was made fun of. I was an exercise obsessed kid that was made fun of. I even became the fit kid that was made fun of. And so there was always this feeling of being left out, being different, not fitting in. And that was one of the things that I had to overcome. Number one was body image issues. I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I'm too fit, as crazy as it sounds. And then getting over what other people were thinking about choices and decisions I was making. The second thing that I had to get over was feeling like I had to be perfect. Feeling like if I didn't get my zone 2 run in over the course of the day, if I didn't get my second strength lifting session in over the course of the day, if I didn't hit my macros perfectly, if I didn't get to sleep on time, if I didn't make sure that I got my self-care in, if I didn't make sure that I got my relationship connection times in, that I was failing, that it wasn't worth it, that it wasn't worth doing anything, that I had to start over again at zero. I had to start from scratch. And if I missed it, I might as well just throw the whole thing away. And then number 3 is that I was not making progress. Number 3, no matter how much effort, no matter how much time, no matter how much I invested into it, I wasn't making progress. Now, I want to tackle each one of those individually. When we come into this concept of your body image, you might be looking in the mirror right now and go, man, you know what? I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I feel. I've put on more weight than I should have. Or, you know what? My legs are bigger than my arms, which are bigger than my hips, and I'm just out of proportion. I don't like the way I look. I'll tell you, when you don't like the way something is, the best thing to do is to start doing something different. Because we didn't get the way that we are by acting the way that we should. Going back to me, when I was an overweight kid, I didn't get that way because I was eating really well and I was exercising the right way. I got that way because I had a lack of intentionality and a lack of consistency. When I became anorexic, it wasn't because I was eating the way that I should and I wasn't and I was training the way that I should. In fact, it was the exact opposite. I was under eating and overtraining. When I started to become really fit, it wasn't that I was eating what I should and exercising the way that I should. And people are like, well, Justin, that doesn't make sense. You're really fit. No, because I took it to an extreme. It was what was running my life. Sharon Srivatsa said this so well. He goes, it's unacceptable to be fit, it's unacceptable to be rich and fat, but it's also unacceptable to be fit and poor. And I was like, man, that just hits in such a big way, because it means that the levels of discipline, the levels of consistency, the levels of intentionality that you've executed in one area of your life, you just don't carry over to another. And I was like, man, that is just so good. So good. Because we talk about a holistic life. And so when you don't feel good about how you're operating, when you don't feel good about yourself, it starts with doing something differently. And a lot of times we think, oh, well, we can figure out what that different thing is ourselves. And the truth of the matter is, if we knew how to do it, we'd already be there. And so it requires you to bring somebody else in. And for me, it was a coach. For me, it was a coach that helped open my eyes to what it was that I was not seeing, to habits and behaviors that I was not understanding, to things that were in my life that I needed to shed, that I needed to get rid of, that I needed to walk away from, beliefs, thought processes. You see, health is a holistic thing. It's not just the six-pack abs. It's not just the workout. It's not just the nutrition. It's just not the sleep. It's the mindset. It's the thought processes. It's how you talk to yourself. It's the things you do when nobody's looking. It's the identity. That's what matters. That's what holds everything else together. This is why so many of you have failed thus far, is because you've gone and gotten the trainer. You've gone and gotten the nutrition coach. You've gone and gotten the testing done that you need to, but you don't have everything that holds it all together, which is how we're thinking, the thought processes that have to become different, the belief systems that have to become different, the self-talk that has to become different, the identity that has to be shed, changed, and led into something different. It's when you bring it all together that you become unstoppable. It's when you bring it together that you start to actually see changes. It's when you bring all that together that you start to see who you actually are and how you can actually impart change in yourself that increases confidence, that increases sustainability, that increases the outcomes that you really desire. So that's number one, is get somebody around you who's been there, who's done that, who's leaned into those areas. And to be honest with you, I want to give you something right off the hop. If you go to theownitshow.com, I've literally built out the blueprint and the ebook of what my journey was like. I took my entire journey and I put it into an ebook for you so that you can actually go through and see what did it look like for Justin to actually build his holistic system? What did it look like for Justin to build this holistically for himself? So that now I can start to glean off of that. I can start to see off of that what I can start to do, what I can start to put into place, the systems that I can start to build. Because only when you're willing to do that are you willing to then step into something new, step into something different, step into something that's powerful, and step into something that's consistent. Then we go into the level that I talked about with perfection, this level of perfectionism, where maybe you're like, Justin, you know what? I've done a lot of these things, but I always fall off the wagon because travel comes up, or holidays come, or an interruption in my schedule changes everything, or my desire just to be absolutely perfect holds me back from being able to take one step. Because I have a plan set out for me, but because it's not perfect, I feel like I just need to throw it away. And the problem with this is that when we lean into this and we start to go, man, this perfectionism actually keeps me from the promise that sits on the other side. And I start to take a step back as to who that guy was. That guy was insecure. That guy didn't really actually know what his identity was in. That guy was trying to prove that through perfection, he was good enough. And I wonder if that's the same thing for you. If perfection just becomes the excuse as to why not to try. If perfection just becomes the fear that gives you the side door out. If perfection just becomes the reason why you don't lean into something different. And as I went through this, this is where I developed the 3 laws of habit building. And the 3 laws are this. Law number 1 is the law of never two. So when we're trying to develop a new habit, we never miss 2 days in a row. So if we take a look at a week, you would actually be hitting it 4 days out of 7. If we hit it Monday, we missed it Tuesday, we'd hit it Wednesday, we miss it Thursday, we hit it Friday, we miss it Saturday, we hit it Sunday. Or maybe we're good Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we miss it Thursday. Well, you better get back on the horse on Friday. You miss it Saturday, you're back on the horse on Sunday. You hit it now 5 out of 7 days. You start to take that law of never two, never miss 2 days in a row, and I guarantee you, over the course of time, you will see the changes you desire. You will get better. You will move forward. Takes us to law number 2, which is the law of 30 in 30. For 30 minutes a day, for 30 days straight, you will think about, plan, or execute whatever that goal is that you're leaning towards. So if you actually start to break this down as to what we're talking about, is if I wanted to go and start running, I want to run a mile every single day. For 30 days straight, I would maybe, okay, you know what? What's my route that I'm going to take? I'm going to start to think about it. Maybe I want to get a running partner. Who do I want to run with? Maybe the second day I write my plan out as to where I'm going to go, the partners and the days that I'm going to run with them, and then maybe the outfit I want to wear. And day 3, look at this, we're running. We're doing our first run. And then maybe the next day we traveled, so we missed that day. And then the next day we hit it because it's the law of never two. Well, for 30 days in a row, for 30 minutes, by the end of 30 days, I guarantee you have a new habit built. And then we come to law number 3, the law of MVP, minimal viable progress. If you don't have 30 minutes, I guarantee you could have 1. You were traveling, you didn't have time to go for your 1 mile run. Great, go for a 1 minute run. I guarantee you can do that. Run through the airport. Maybe you even get 2 minutes in. That's you hitting it for that day because that is what you prioritized. And so that's no longer this need for perfection. But if you get these 3 laws over the course of 30 days, I guarantee you will start to be better than when it was that you started. And that change in mindset created this level of consistency, which brings me to number 3, which was I was doing the things but never getting the results. I wasn't seeing what I actually wanted. And it was because my equation was wrong. I thought I was consistent. I thought I was intentional. I thought I did things over time, but my results were not there. And so it comes to number 3, the solution for not seeing the results is number 1, intentionality plus consistency over the course of time equals inevitable results. Now, how do we become how do we become intentional? I almost gave it away. How do we become intentional? Number 1 is we have data that brings absolute intentionality. It's no longer, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? It's no longer, is this the right decision? The data guides you. Data dictates direction. When data dictates direction, it's no longer feelings or emotions that are driving you, but rather actual data, actual tangible information, so that you can make the best decision, not based off of what you feel, but based off what the data says. Then to be intentional, you have to become obedient. You have to become obedient to even things that you don't want to do. You have to become obedient to things that might be difficult. You have to become obedient to things that may not make sense. But when you do that, the intentionality becomes confirming or redirecting as to the direction you have to go. Maybe it's not a mile run every single day. Maybe it's a mile run every 3 days and now weightlifting in between. But the data will help guide you there. You being obedient to what somebody else coaching and guiding you, telling you to do, will get you there. But you will not be able to understand that or know that until you actually take an action and look at the data to help redirect or confirm the direction you're going. That's intentionality. Intentionality leaves you in tension. It shouldn't be easy. It should be, man, I don't necessarily want to do that. It should be hard. Because if it wasn't hard, everybody would do it. Intentionality isn't wishy-washy, willy-nilly. I want to be more happy. I want to be more present. No, it's something that really challenges you, which leads us to point 2, which is consistency. And everybody hears this. I need to be more consistent. I'm just not very consistent. No, you are consistent. That's a virtue that you have. I guarantee you, I could look at your life and I could find a place in your life that you're consistent. Guaranteed. And when I found an area of your life that you were consistent in, what I would also find there is a place that you've developed a system to become intentional, a system to become consistent. Is in your business? Maybe. Maybe you've developed the systems so that you have predictability and consistency within what your cash flow looks like. Is it in your relationship? Maybe. You've developed a system that makes sure date night's on the calendar every single week, to make sure that you're home for dinner with your family every single week. You have trips planned to go see your family a couple times a year. You have systems in place so that the consistent actions happen. You just haven't developed that in your health. You haven't developed that in your longevity practices. You haven't developed that in your stress management practices. You haven't developed that in your day-to-day for you. And so I challenge you, what are your systems? That for me is the biggest thing that's changed. I didn't have systems before. My systems were developed by default because the hockey teams that I played for, the hockey teams that I coached, had them put in place. We knew we had to be at the rink at a certain time. We knew we had gym time. We knew we had ice time. We knew we had practice. We knew we flew at this time. We knew that we had recovery time at this time. The structure and systems were put in place so that we could get predictable outcomes. But now as soon as you're on your own, those systems don't exist. And that was where I faltered, is that I tried to do everything and instead I did nothing. So what does it look like to build systems? Systems in place for training, systems in place for recovery, systems in place for sleep, systems in place for travel. The big things that come up in your life. Where are the obstacles? You see, the best way that I found in order to build a system was, 1, develop a mission and vision for where you wanted to go in your health. I have a vision that I will work out every single morning, whether I'm at home or on the road, that I will be in the sauna and in the cold plunge every single day, that I will have 30 minutes a day specifically dedicated to recovery work so that I can ultimately perform at the best way possible day in and day out. Well, how do I build consistency around this? What is the biggest obstacle? My biggest obstacle was that I travel 15 days a year or 15 days a month. Well, what I had to do is I had to develop a system, and you can go back to another podcast that I did based on my travel framework and my travel playbook that I developed. I had to develop a system so that I could actually operate and do things well when I was traveling, just like I do when I'm at home. And when I did that, guess what? I now move on to step 3, which is over time. If I'm intentional and I'm consistent, now I have to do that over time, which for a lot of people becomes the difficult thing. And the way in which we do it over the course of time is you build accountability metrics in place. How do I make sure accountability metrics were done in place for me? Well, I did another podcast on why I bring people to my house 6 days a week, because I'm no longer accountable to me. I'm accountable to those 5 men showing up at my house every single morning to work out. I'm accountable to those men every single morning that I'm going to the track. I'm accountable to those men every single day we're doing the Bible study. I'm accountable to those men, to the habits and behaviors that I want to build in and also that they want to build in. I'm accountable to my coach, to the data that they're looking at. I have somebody talking and speaking into these areas. And guess what? Lo and behold, the outcomes are inevitable. It's inevitable that I would win the High Rocks games. It's inevitable that I would be top 10 in DECA in all three different categories. It's inevitable that I'd run a marathon. It's inevitable that I do a marathon, a triathlon, and a High Rocks games all in the same year. It's inevitable that I would feel more healthy than I ever would. It's inevitable that I would look the way that I do. It's inevitable that I'd be mentally clear the way that I am. Your outcomes are inevitable. And that desire for certainty exists if you're willing to be intentional, consistent, and do it over the course of time to realize inevitable outcomes. I always say, do not ask somebody how they got somewhere. Ask them about the systems they've built. Do not admire the results someone has, but admire the systems in which they operate with, because the systems are what get you to where you want to go. And so when you start to realize this, that's when you can start to live a life that's different. Whether you struggle with body image issues, whether you struggle with perfection, whether you struggle with the reason that you're not actually seeing the results after putting in the effort, it all comes back to the systems that you've built. It all comes back to the people around you. And it all comes back to the accountability in which you have in place. What you desire is at your fingertips, but it requires you doing something different and living differently. It's waiting for you, but you have to step in and do it a different way. I've lived that life. I know what it's like. My heart goes out to you because it's a lonely road sometimes. It feels like you're the only one that can't get it. It feels hopeless. It feels helpless. It feels like you're in the wilderness walking, but where you are is there for a reason. And I go back to this. If this is you and this is something that's resonating with you, you feel like, man, the cost of leadership is weighing me down. The cost of leadership is costing me my health. The cost of leadership is ultimately costing me my peace and my joy in life every single day. I encourage you to go to theownitshow.com. Go to theownitshow.com, and right there you can download the ebook that I've put together that literally walks you through my journey, how I've gone through this, so that it can now start to empower you in the same way. And it can help you get there and time collapse what it took me. It won't take you 15 years to figure it out. It might just take you 5 weeks. And so what does this look like in order to start operating this way? Because you have a lot of gifts that you're waiting to deploy. You are waiting to step into something new, not because you don't know where you want to go, but rather because you don't know how to get there. And the prayers that you've had, the desires that have been waiting, the things that you've asked for are on the other side of taking action today so that you can step into what it is that you've already been created for. So theownitshow.com is where I want you to go in order to grab that. And again, if something I've said here today stuck with you, if something I've said here today served you, all I ask is that you share this, leave a comment, and you give this to somebody else that you know it will be a word for them. Because at the end of the day, we know success is different. So own your different. And we'll see you guys next week.